The battlefield smelled of scorched metal and panic. Kai Mercer crouched behind the remains of a shattered hover tank, sweat trickling down his neck inside the suffocating armor of his exosuit. He peeked over the edge, just enough to see the alien drones gliding through the smoke like silent predators, their spherical bodies glowing with that ominous bluish light that meant they were seconds away from blasting something. "Great," Kai muttered, checking his ammo. "2 clips left, 0 backup, and a strong possibility I'll be remembered as that idiot who charged alien death drones with a sarcastic smile. Perfect career arc." The drone's words scanning. His HUD flickered warnings like an overzealous babysitter. He sprinted for cover, vaulting over burning debris when his boot hit something soft. He skidded to a stop and nearly tripped. At first he thought it was just another body, another casualty of the chaos, but the sight froze him in place. It wasn't a human soldier lying there. It wasn't even the enemy. She looked like a woman, at least, close enough for his human brain to categorize her as one. But she had long, tapered ears that curved elegantly backward like pale silver blades, and her skin shimmered faintly under the flicker of burning wreckage, as though it reflected every color and none at all. Her eyes were closed, her breathing shallow. An alien, yes, but not one of the war machines. Her clothing, or armor, was unlike anything he'd seen. It looked grown, not forged, like liquid silk that hardened when touched. Kai whispered, crouching. "So you're either royalty or someone very unlucky. Maybe both. Lucky me, I get to find out." Another drone screeched overhead. He swore under his breath, yanked the energy pistol from his thigh holster, and shot it in the sensor eye, frying it in midair. The blast shook the ground. He looked back at the alien woman who hadn't moved. "Right, because this day wasn't already weird enough," he grumbled. "Kai Mercer, soldier, professional rescuer of space princesses. Where's my damn medal?" He scanned her for injuries, his gloves glowing faintly as the suit's med sensors swept over her body. Broken ribs, possible internal bleeding. Fantastic. He had 0 medical training beyond "don't die in the first 5 minutes. But leaving her here, not an option. For reasons he couldn't explain, the thought made his stomach twist. A shadow passed over them. He looked up. More drones, a lot more drones. "Oh, sure, bring friends, why not? Let's make this a party," Kai snapped, scooping her up in his arms. She was lighter than he expected but radiated warmth, almost like holding a living ember. "You know," he muttered to her limp form as he bolted through the ruins, "on Earth, this would count as a really awkward first date. I save you, you owe me coffee, or at least a thank you card. No weird alien customs, right?" He dodged fire, weaving through shattered walls and twisted metal beams. The alien woman stirred slightly in his arms, her lips parting. He almost stumbled when he realized she was whispering something, words in a language he didn't understand, soft and melodic. It sounded like music, but he was too busy trying not to get vaporized to appreciate the serenade. Yeah, you're welcome," he said. "Don't mind me. Just the guy carrying you through hell because I have some kind of hero complex." The drones were gaining. He ducked into a broken cargo bay, setting her down gently on a stack of half-melted crates. His suit powered up its last defensive shield. "Stay here," he told her, like she had any other choice. "I'm gonna go shoot some oversized toasters." She blinked at him, and for a second he was struck by those silver eyes, no longer closed but gleaming faintly in the dark, watching him with an intensity that made his chest tighten. He cleared his throat, suddenly self-conscious. "Right, just don't die." The next 5 minutes were a blur of chaos. Plasma bolts tore through the cargo bay, Kai's shield sputtered and cracked, and his pistol overheated. He hurled a thermal grenade, taking out the last drone in a glorious explosion that left his ears ringing. He leaned against the wall, panting. "Congratulations," he told the smoldering wreckage. "You're all ugly scrap now." "You're welcome, Galaxy." When he returned to the alien woman, she was sitting up. Somehow, despite her injuries, she looked regal, composed, and oddly amused. Her lips curved in a faint smile, like she knew a joke he didn't. "Hey," he said, crouching in front of her. "You okay? You're alive, that's good. Look, I don't know if you understand me, but I'm just trying to." Her hand reached up, touching his cheek. The contact was warm, electric. She whispered something else, her tone soft but resolute. Then she smiled, and something about that smile made him very, very nervous. "Please tell me that didn't mean congratulations, you're now married to me or something," he muttered. "Because I am terrible with commitments." She tilted her head as if she understood the joke and actually laughed, an ethereal, chiming sound that completely disarmed him. And that's when he heard a voice behind him. Not human. Not friendly. He turned just in time to see a squad of tall, armored aliens storming the bay. They didn't look thrilled to see him anywhere near their queen. "Oh, fantastic," Kai sighed, standing protectively in front of her. "Let me guess. I'm about to make a great first impression on your in-laws." The alien queen's smile widened, and Kai had the sinking feeling that his life had just gotten infinitely more complicated. The alien soldiers advanced with the kind of synchronized precision that made Kai feel like a clumsy toddler holding a water gun. Their armor gleamed like liquid obsidian, shifting with faint pulses of light that suggested some kind of living technology. Each of them carried weapons that looked part blade, part energy conduit, devices that would probably slice him into neat pieces before he had the chance to yell something heroic like, "Wait, this is all a misunderstanding." "Okay," Kai muttered under his breath, tightening his grip on his pistol. "This is fine, just a casual meet and greet. I'll say hi, you won't shoot me, and everyone will live happily ever after. That's how first contact works, right?" The queen, Selara, he'd heard one of the soldiers whisper her name, rose slowly to her feet, using the wall for support. Even battered and bloodied, she radiated an unsettling mix of authority and serenity. Her silver eyes locked on Kai as she spoke a few sharp musical words to the soldiers. Whatever she said made them pause, their weapons lowering by an inch. Kai held up his free hand and gave a nervous wave. "Hi, I'm Kai. I'm a human. We're usually friendly unless someone cuts us off in traffic or invades our planet. Which, don't take this the wrong way, you guys have been doing a lot of." The soldiers stared at him like he'd just sprouted a second head. One tilted their helmeted head and murmured something in a voice that sounded suspiciously like disapproval. Kai was 90% sure he was being called weird meatbag in their language. Selara spoke again, her tone soft but commanding, and the soldiers stepped back. She turned to Kai and gestured for him to follow, her long ears twitching slightly as though they were antennae picking up signals he couldn't even imagine. "Wait, we're just leaving with them?" he asked, pointing at the soldiers who now looked vaguely annoyed at his hesitation. "What about me having a choice in this? I mean, I'm flattered, but—" Selara's expression didn't change, but there was something in her gaze. Amusement, maybe. That made him feel like he'd just lost an argument he hadn't even started. "Fine," he said with a sigh, holstering his weapon. "But just for the record, I usually at least get a free drink before being whisked away by mysterious alien royalty." They guided him through the shattered battlefield to a ship hovering just beyond the ruins. It wasn't like any vessel he'd seen. Instead of metal plating and sharp edges, it looked organic, almost like the hull had grown naturally out of bone and crystal. The ship's surface rippled faintly when they walked aboard, as though acknowledging their presence. "Yep, totally not creepy," Kai muttered. "I'm just walking into a giant alien space oyster. This is fine, absolutely fine." Inside, the walls pulsed with faint veins of light, glowing in rhythm with what sounded disturbingly like a heartbeat. Kai resisted the urge to poke the walls just to see if they were slimy. Selara moved with calm assurance, speaking to her people in low tones. A few of them glanced at him with something between curiosity and contempt. "Hey," he said to one of the soldiers walking beside him. "Do you guys have, like, an intergalactic translator? Because I'm pretty sure your queen thinks I proposed to her or something. And while she's, intimidatingly gorgeous with the whole silver eye thing, I'm not exactly ready to be a royal consort." The soldier said nothing. Kai sighed. "Great. This is going to be the longest silent treatment of my life." Solara suddenly stopped in front of a doorway that seemed to melt open at her touch. Inside was a chamber that looked like a cross between a throne room and a garden. Crystal vines curled up the walls, glowing flowers floated midair, and a large platform pulsed like a living heart in the center. Kai decided this was either breathtaking or terrifying, and he wasn't sure which. Solara turned to him, her silver eyes gleaming with a strange warmth. She spoke, her words flowing like music, and though he didn't understand them, the tone was unmistakable, ceremonial, final. She gestured toward him, then placed a hand over her chest. Kai frowned. "Wait, hold on. Are you announcing something?" "No, no, don't announce me. I'm not ready for announcements. Do I look like I packed a speech?" The alien crowd murmured as Solara continued, her tone rising with a kind of triumphant authority. Then, just like that, she declared something that made the room erupt in cheers and alien whistles. Kai stared around, horrified. "Okay, judging by the cheering," he said, pointing at himself, "I'm either their new king or I've been volunteered for some bizarre alien reality show. Please tell me it's the second one." Solara turned back to him and smiled, and Kai swore there was mischief in her eyes. She stepped closer, her fingers brushing his arm as she murmured a phrase he didn't know but somehow understood. "You saved me. Now you are mine." Kai blinked. I think there's been a slight cultural misunderstanding here. On Earth, saving someone's life is just called being a decent human being. It's not." She tilted her head, clearly amused, and said something to the crowd. They cheered louder. Kai groaned. "Yep, awesome, this is my life now. I've been accidentally married to a space queen. Perfect, just what I always wanted." He shot a glance at the soldiers. "Does this come with dental?" Kai had officially decided that alien royalty had no concept of personal space or sanity. He was now seated in what passed for a royal chamber, which looked more like the inside of a giant, glowing seashell. The walls pulsed faintly, like they were breathing, and every few seconds a tendril of light ran through them as if the ship was showing off its mood. Kai wasn't sure if that mood was welcome or "we're going to digest you later," but he wasn't about to ask. Solara sat across from him on a platform that probably counted as a throne, except it wasn't made of metal or wood. It looked alive. Everything on this ship looked alive, which was disturbing enough without the fact that the queen kept smiling at him like she just caught herself a particularly amusing pet. "So just to recap," Kai began, pointing between them. "I save you, you announce me as your mate, and now I'm sitting here waiting for someone to tell me if I should bow, salute, or start practicing intergalactic husband duties. Did I miss anything?" Solara tilted her head, silver eyes shimmering like mercury in the soft light. She said something in her melodic language that sounded like it could either mean brave hero or confused snack. He had no way of knowing. Kai sighed and leaned back. "You know, if you could understand me, you'd probably realize I'm not mate material. I mean, I once killed a houseplant by forgetting it needed water. Relationships require, maintenance." The soldier who had escorted him, a towering alien with armor that made Kai feel like an underdressed extra in a sci-fi epic, stood by the door watching silently. Every now and then the soldier's armor plates would shift and emit a faint hum, which Kai was convinced was some alien version of an eye roll. Solara spoke again, this time gesturing for him to come closer. He raised an eyebrow. "Look, I'm flattered, but I'm really not ready for the whole royal consort thing. Do I look like the type of guy who can pull off formal robes and crown duties? No, I'm the type of guy who trips over airlocks." Still she waited. So naturally, he shuffled forward like someone approaching a wild animal that might either cuddle or bite. When he got close enough, she reached out and placed a hand on his chest plate, right over the glowing energy core of his suit. It hummed under her touch, almost as if reacting to her. Kai blinked. "Okay, Either this is really romantic or you're just fascinated by shiny tech, he said, trying not to sound as unnerved as he felt. Then she said something to the guards outside. The doorway peeled open with a ripple-like liquid metal, and a group of attendants, at least, that's what Kai assumed they were, entered the chamber. They carried strange instruments that looked part medical device, part weapon, and definitely not the kind of thing you wanted pointed at your face. Kai raised his hands. Whoa, hey, is this where we all talk about boundaries? Because I feel like we skipped a few steps here. Maybe a dinner date before the medical experiments. Just saying. One of the attendants waved the device near his helmet. It emitted a soft trill, and then, suddenly, a synthetic voice echoed in his ear. Translation module initialized. Please speak. Kai froze. Wait, you understand me now. He turned to Solara. You can understand me. Oh, this is going to be fun. Solara smiled faintly, and her voice came through the translator, smooth, low, and faintly amused. You speak strangely, human, but I understand your meaning. Kai blinked. Oh, well, thanks, I guess. And hey, I'm not strange. You're the one declaring strangers as mates 5 minutes after meeting them. Pretty bold move. Do all your people do that, or am I just irresistibly charming? She laughed, actually laughed, and Kai felt a weird warmth in his chest that he decided was either pride or fear, probably both. In our customs, she said, to save a queen's life is to claim her heart. It is a vow of unity. You acted with courage and risked your life. I accepted. Kai's jaw dropped. Whoa, hold on. That wasn't a vow. That was me just being a decent guy. You were bleeding out, I carried you, and suddenly we're, what, space married. That's not how this works. Solara tilted her head. It is how it works here. Are you saying you wish to dishonor me? Kai opened his mouth, then shut it because saying yes felt like a quick way to get vaporized by her guards. No. I mean not dishonor, more like postpone. Can we just say we're, I don't know, engaged to be confused? She blinked, and for a moment he thought she might actually take offense. Then she laughed again, softly, as though he just told the universe's best joke. You are unusual, she said, but perhaps that is not bad. Kai rubbed the back of his neck. Well, you're not so bad yourself, a little intense, though. And your guards keep looking at me like I'm a bug they can't legally squish. Solara gestured to the attendants, who stepped closer with their strange devices. We must heal you and prepare you. There will be a ceremony. Ceremony, Kai repeated, backing up a step. Wait, no, not that fast. I don't even know what your people eat, let alone what you do at weddings. It is not a wedding, Solara said, her tone calm. It is acknowledgement. My people must see that you are strong enough to stand at my side. Kai groaned. Yeah, well, they might be disappointed. I'm mostly strong enough to lift a pizza box without pulling a muscle. Solara's amused smile only widened. Then we shall make you stronger. The attendants advanced again, and Kai sighed in defeat. Fine, but if this involves any alien needles, I'm filing a cosmic complaint. Somewhere deep in the ship, the walls pulsed brighter, as if the vessel itself found his suffering hilarious. Kai had officially concluded that alien medicine was just science fiction's way of mocking him. The healing chamber, as Solara's attendants called it, looked suspiciously like the inside of a giant jellyfish. A transparent membrane wrapped around his torso, and glowing liquid surged through tubes connected to the walls. Every time the chamber emitted a deep hum, he swore it was trying to read his thoughts. Okay, Kai muttered, staring at the pulsating light in front of his face. If this thing is about to upload my brain to some galactic database, I'd like to opt out. No one needs to know how often I think about cheeseburgers. One of the attendants, a lanky alien whose ears were half the length of Solara's, tilted their head and spoke through the translator. The human complains often. Is this normal? Kai raised an eyebrow. Hey, I'm not complaining. I'm expressing healthy skepticism. You try getting stuffed into a glowing space cocoon and see if you don't start making jokes to stay sane. Solara appeared in the doorway, her presence instantly commanding. She wore a flowing, iridescent garment that looked grown rather than woven, shifting colors as she moved. The sight of her made Kai's mind stall for a second, though he quickly shook it off, blaming the chamber's weird, brain-scrambling hum. "You are healing," she said, her tone both firm and amused. "Your body was weak from the battle. My people's technology will make you stronger." Kai gestured around the room. "Yeah, sure, stronger. Or I'll end up with an extra arm, which, to be fair, would be useful. I could hold a sandwich and a weapon at the same time." Solara's lips curved into the faintest of smiles. "You are unlike any warrior I have met." "Good different or bad different?" Kai asked, leaning forward. "Different," she said, and there was something in her tone, something soft, that made him lose his train of thought. The chamber hissed and released him, the membrane peeling back like warm gel. Kai stumbled out, wiping off the glowing residue with a look of mild horror. "Great! Now I feel like I just wrestled an electric octopus." Solara stepped closer, her long ears twitching slightly, and handed him a sleek weapon unlike anything he'd ever seen. It was shaped like a crescent moon, pulsing with faint, golden light. "You will train with this," she said. "The ceremony requires that you stand as my equal in combat." Kai stared at the weapon. "Equal in combat? I'm barely equal to my own shadow when I trip over things." Solara's silver eyes sparkled with amusement. "You saved me. That act proves you have courage. Strength can be built." Kai sighed. "Yeah, well, so can muscle cramps." The next few hours were a blur of training in a hall that seemed to be alive. Panels shifting, targets growing out of the walls like plants. Every time Kai misfired, the weapon emitted a sarcastic chirp which he was convinced was its way of judging him. "See," he told Solara after his fifth miss, "even the gun hates me. It's like a cosmic Yelp review." She watched him with an expression halfway between patience and mischief. "Focus," she said. "You are too busy thinking of jokes." "I think in jokes," he replied, aiming again. "It's my survival mechanism. Works better than armor most of the time." To his shock, the next shot hit the target dead center. The weapon hummed approvingly, and Kai gave it a triumphant smirk. "Oh, now you like me. Typical." Solara laughed softly, and for some reason the sound made the endless tension in his shoulders ease. "Perhaps you are not hopeless," she said. "Wow," Kai replied. "That's the nicest thing anyone said to me all day. I'll take it." Just as he started to feel vaguely confident, a loud chime echoed through the ship. Solara's attendants entered, carrying what could only be described as ceremonial armor, though calling it armor felt generous. It looked more like alien artwork, smooth and gleaming, designed for display rather than actual protection. Kai frowned. "That doesn't look like armor. That looks like something you'd wear to a sci-fi fashion show." "It is tradition," Solara explained. "The ceremony of the bond requires it." "Bond?" Kai said, his voice cracking. "I thought this was just a friendly acknowledgement thing, like, thanks for saving me, here's a high five. Not whatever this is." Solara stepped closer, her silver eyes locking onto his. "Do you regret saving me?" Kai blinked, thrown off. "No, of course not. I just didn't realize I was signing up for a starring role in Alien Bachelor, Galactic Edition." She tilted her head, studying him for a long moment, then smiled faintly. "You will see. It is not what you think." Kai sighed, rubbing his face. Famous last words. I can already feel the embarrassment of wearing whatever that shiny nightmare is. As the attendants began fitting him into the ceremonial gear, he muttered under his breath, "If my squad could see me now, they'd never let me live this down." Solara, watching with that unreadable expression, whispered something to herself in her own language, a phrase that the translator didn't bother to interpret. It sounded like amusement and something deeper, and Kai, despite his protests, felt a flicker of curiosity that even humor couldn't mask. Kai never thought ceremonial armor would squeak. Every time he moved, the polished plates emitted an embarrassing noise, like a rubber duck being tortured. He shot Selara a glare as they walked through the corridor of the living ship, flanked by her guards. Is this supposed to happen? Because I feel like the universe is mocking me right now. Selara, perfectly composed in her own regal armor that looked as if starlight had been poured over her, glanced at him with a faint smile. You look unique. Unique. That's the polite way of saying I look like a walking dinner bell, isn't it? Kai muttered. The corridor opened into a vast chamber where hundreds of Selara's people had gathered. The air hummed with anticipation, and the walls seemed to glow brighter, like the ship itself was part of the audience. At the center of the chamber was a platform etched with symbols that pulsed as if alive. Selara stopped and turned to him. This is where we prove our bond to the court. Strength and unity must be shown, or they will never accept you. Kai scratched the back of his helmet. You know, I'm more of a guy who proves his worth by fixing broken coffee machines, not standing in front of an intergalactic crowd. But hey, no pressure. Before he could make another sarcastic comment, the challenge began. A giant holographic construct materialized, a shifting monster of pure light and energy, designed to test reflexes, strength, and courage. Kai stared at it, then glanced at Selara. Oh good, a glowy murder hologram, just what I needed. She handed him the crescent weapon he'd trained with, her touch lingering on his hand. You are ready, she said softly. Kai took a deep breath. For the record, if I trip and die in front of your people, I want someone to put on my gravestone. He tried, but he was very, very bad at hologram fighting. The battle was chaos. The construct lashed out with whips of pure plasma, forcing Kai to roll, dodge, and curse like his life depended on it. Because it did. Selara fought at his side, her movements so fluid and precise that he almost forgot to keep up. At one point he shouted, You're way too good at this. Stop showing off, you're making me look bad. Focus. She laughed, striking the construct with a flash of golden light. By some miracle and possibly sheer stubbornness, Kai managed to land the final blow. The hologram shattered into a rain of sparks and the chamber erupted in cheers. Kai stood there, panting, and raised the weapon in victory. Ha! Take that, glowing space nightmare. Who's weak now? Selara stepped beside him, placing her hand over his. They see you now, she said, her voice warm. Not as an outsider, as someone who stands with me. He looked at her, breathing hard, and realized something had shifted. He wasn't just the sarcastic soldier anymore. Somewhere between the rescue, the miscommunications, and this insane bond, he had found something worth fighting for. The ceremony continued with the court chanting in a language he didn't understand, though the meaning was clear enough. Acceptance. Selara addressed her people, her voice ringing like music, and then turned to him. You have changed my fate, Kai Mercer. You have changed ours. He rubbed the back of his neck. Well, I do have that effect, usually just on vending machines, but this is better. Later, in the quiet of the ship's observation deck, he stood beside her, watching stars drift past like scattered diamonds. You know, he said, when I saved you, I wasn't looking for any of this. I just didn't want you to die. But now, he trailed off, uncertain how to finish. Selara's long ears twitched as she looked at him. Now. He gave a small, self-conscious grin. Now I'm starting to think the universe isn't all that bad at matchmaking. Weird but effective. She laughed softly, the sound carrying like a melody through the chamber. Perhaps it is fate, or perhaps it is just you. Kai took a deep breath, feeling the tension that had clung to him since the war finally slipped away. Whatever it is, I think I'm sticking around. Somebody's got to make sarcastic comments about your royal meetings. Then you are my mate, she said, not as a declaration, but as something certain and real.